Welcome to Mamahood After Trauma, where healing and mamahood intersect. I'm Emily, your host. Join us as we discover practical strategies to nurture ourselves with kindness and understanding. Stay tuned for insights and inspiration to support you on your path of healing and growth. Let's dive in together. This is Mamahood After Trauma. Hey, Mama. Welcome to this bonus episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. My name is Emily Cleghorn. I am your host. I am a holistic trauma recovery coach, and I am on a mission to empower trauma surviving mamas to reclaim their inner strength, guiding them through the triggers of their past so that they can create the peaceful, loving, joyful mamahood that they yearn for deep in their soul. On this episode, we are going to be talking about the idea of healing through community and the importance that community plays in trauma recovery. Now, this is something that is near and dear to my heart because as a trauma survivor myself, I believed very firmly when I was first entering my motherhood experience that I needed to do it all alone. Can you resonate with that at all? I need to take care of my kids, take care of my child, take care of my baby, take care of my house, do all of the things all by myself. And, society would have us believe that too. But you know something? It's not true. We don't need to do it all by ourselves. And our trauma would also have us believe that we need to do it all by ourselves because trauma creates a divide in our thinking and gets in the way of us creating connection with other people. We feel like we don't belong. We feel like nobody really likes us and they're just being nice to us because they have to be. But I want to encourage you that what your trauma is telling you, that you need to do it all by yourself, what society is telling you that you need to do it all by yourself, and that you have to meet X number of standards, you have to go all out or you're not a good mom. I want to encourage you that those aren't accurate. And so I think before we dive into this conversation too much, I want to spend some time defining trauma because we have a tendency as women, as people, to compare our experiences. I've heard people say, well, my parents didn't divorce when I was a kid. I wasn't abused. I had a pretty good childhood, but I'm still struggling with PTSD, regulating my nervous system, whatever it may be. And I want to explain to you that trauma is not the event. Trauma is what we make the event mean about us. Okay? Trauma is not the event. trauma is what we make the event mean about us. So whether or not it's a psychological event, a physical event, an emotional event, a sexual event, whatever it, however the event happens, whatever that is what we make the event mean about us. So that's why if you have a group of siblings who all grew up in the same household, who all grew up in the same environment, some of the siblings may have found that household, that environment, to be traumatic, while others did not. Because trauma is a very personal thing. A very personal thing. And so don't compare your experience to the experience of someone else. And in a way, gaslight yourself into feeling like your experience, your thoughts and feelings are invalid. That's not kind to yourself. And it certainly doesn't help the healing process. So, what are some of the unique challenges that we as moms face when it comes to healing trauma in community? Well, I've heard from other moms, and in my experience myself, I have found that it is very hard in our society now to make friends. I find it extremely difficult since becoming an adult, since beginning my motherhood journey, I found it very difficult to make friends. And so that is a challenge that lends itself to increasing the feeling of isolation, to increasing the feeling, the lack of sense of belonging. It's also difficult because we as moms absorb much of the mental load that comes with raising kids and managing a household and doing life in general. And so we often feel like we don't have time. And so I want to let you know that finding community doesn't have to be this thing that takes all kinds of time. Just like self-care in mamahood doesn't need to take all kinds of time and doesn't need to be elaborate and like every time is a big spa day. Maybe that works for you. Maybe that's doable for you, but for a lot of people, it's not. And so we have to meet ourselves where we are. We interrupt this amazing conversation for a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of feeling like you're on an emotional roller coaster in mamahood? Ready to break free from the fear and frustration that's holding you back? Introducing Mama Untriggered, private podcast series, a transformative 5-episode journey to help you calm your nervous system and reclaim your strength in mamahood. In each episode, we'll guide you through practical, actionable steps to understand your triggers, build your trigger toolbox, and harness the power of community for support. Say goodbye to those moments of overwhelm and hello to more peaceful, empowered you. You didn't become a mama to spend your day on edge. It's time to take control of your emotional well-being and create a positive, joyful experience for you and your littles. Ready to break free from the emotional roller coaster? Subscribe now to the Mama Untriggered private podcast series and start your journey to a calmer, happier mamahood today. And so if you only have a few minutes to look at your phone and find community on a social media platform or listening to a podcast and connecting with that community, those things are also valid, and they can also give you a sense of belonging. They can eliminate or decrease the sense of isolation that you feel, because you've got these other people who understand what you're going through and the challenges that you're facing, and they are able to encourage you when you are having a bad day or when life is a bit rough. And so this can look a bit different depending on your needs, depending on your time, depending on your circumstances. Maybe it's an in-person community and you meet up with a group of moms at the local library, for example, or you meet up with a group of moms at your favorite coffee shop or a park or a play place. There are so many options. Or maybe you join a Bible study at your local church, or a fitness group. You go to your local gym and you connect with women there, depending on what your interests are and what you have time for, what you financially can commit to. And you get that face-to-face interaction and connection. And then there's also online communities like the Mamahood After Trauma Inner Circle, where you can participate as much or as little as you'd like. You get support. There's a diverse set of perspectives, a diverse set of experiences. So it's more diverse. I suppose an in-person group could also be diverse, but a social media community or podcast community or an online community forum would be more likely to have individuals from different parts of the world with different cultural experiences, different life experiences, and that can be of benefit. And then there's also peer-led or professional-led support groups. Okay, so a trauma recovery group or a grief group or a mommy and me group or, things like that. And then there are also communities focused on specific things like domestic violence or childhood trauma or single mothers or local mom groups. or postpartum depression, all of those different things. They each add a, a, a unique set of benefits. Also, there are some risks that you don't want to ignore. Some trauma recovery groups or some trauma groups are not always focused on healing. And you want to be careful if you join a trauma group that it is recovery focused or it's going to drag you down. And that is not what you want. So there are many ways that you can use a group or community to benefit from for your healing, benefits for your healing. You could do storytelling, share your experience, talk about things that you're struggling with. You can find validation for your experience. Sometimes as trauma survivors, we often are made to feel like our trauma is our fault, like we could have done something to prevent it. And sometimes that's our own thought process as well. So finding a community with empathetic, healing-focused individuals is good to help us feel like we're not alone, to validate how we're feeling, and to help us work through those emotions so that we can come out on the other side of the healing. Pardon me. You get a collective wisdom and understanding and education, because everybody within the communities is at a different place in their journey. And so you can learn from the other members of the group and grow in your own wisdom. And you can find accountability, because at the beginning of a trauma recovery journey, it can feel really, really difficult, because sometimes healing moves slowly. It's not a linear process. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And that can feel really discouraging, and it can feel like going back to your pre-healing focused days would be an easier option, because that's what you're used to. And the accountability you find inside of a community is huge. And so if you are looking for a community and you would like to find a group of mamas who are trauma focused, trauma healing focused, support focused, authenticity driven, a space where you are heard, seen, and validated, I encourage you to come and join the Mamahood After Trauma Inner Circle. So I hope that you found some value and could resonate with some of the information that you heard in this episode. If you have any questions or feedback, I would love to hear that. Please drop a comment below or shoot me an email or drop me a DM. Until next time, Mama, keep shining. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune in to this episode of the Mamahood After Trauma podcast. If you would like more of the Mamahood After Trauma community, Make sure to look in the description of this episode for the link to become a Mamahood After Trauma Inner Circle member. Until next time, Mama, keep